Good morning and blessings of the waters. We have just had the summer solstice. We had lots of beautiful ceremonies, some of which you can watch on the Goddess Temple YouTube channel. And we have had the solar eclipse. It's been a really interesting time. And for me, the most important thing right now is to actually be with her, Ceridwen of the waters, the lady of the lake. She has that most beautiful lake in North Wales called Llyn Tegid, Lake Bala, which is a place that I have visited for the last 8 years now. And it is such a wonderful place. And I miss it greatly since at this moment of time, we are not allowed to go. Wales is still locked down, but the waters of the lake are flowing through the rivers and into us. So I'm having here a beautiful chalice of water, and I have blessed it with my best intentions. And for some of you, this will be a little gross, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to drink this water, and then through my breath and through my pores and through my bladder, that water will be out into the world, blessed with my essence, with my presence, and eventually it will go back into the waters of Llyn Tegid, of Lake Bala, and it will reach the places where my beloved goddess lives. And I say my beloved goddess, she's not my goddess, she's just my beloved goddess. She is my tutelary goddess. I work with her every day. As you can see, there's lots of candles and lots of images of her created by so many beautiful people who also love Ceridwen dearly. And for me, having an image of her is important, but her image is actually also in my head. I don't really need all of these things. I just really like them. And I'm a little bit unapologetic about that. So every time I drink water, I am very much in my sacred space. I drink water with mindfulness. I drink water with the knowledge that one day it may be taken away from us. It most certainly is being rather poisoned in many places of the world. And I want to be really grateful for what we have here in the West, what we have, the privilege we have of clean water, of the waters of the world that come through us are being cleaned so that we can consume them. There are too many people out in the world where that is no longer the case. And so I want to give gratitude and love to the water, and especially to the water of Llyn Tegid. Blessed be. And with every time I drink water, I do so mindfully because it is such a pleasure and such a privilege. And whatever we consume mindfully is sacred. The overconsumption and the need that we have, and as you can see, I do have a need for bits as well, and I try to manage that. And it's being mindful about it and understanding that you have to have beauty in your life, but you also have to honor all of the things that have to be given up for that. So this is one of my beautiful Koshi chimes. It is an amazing sound, and it is the sound of water. So the Koshi chimes are elemental instruments, and they are instruments of sound healing. You can't really make a lot of music with them. These are instruments of healing the body. And what happens is when you've drank the water, you play the Koshi chime, and it's really vibrating the water in your body. You're hearing the sound. For me, Koshi chimes are always a beautiful sound. I don't know about you. I don't know if you like the sound of them. But it's a sweet sound. It's a peaceful sound. It's a sound that allows me to be mindful and grateful and loving, and I receive the healing that I'm being sent by Goddess in my body. And I am also sending my healing and my love and my care for the world, for the beings of the world into the world. It's a reciprocal thing. I don't just take and I never use. I always ask for permission. It's very important that we understand, especially in this time, what is really greed and what is need. And I don't mean to preach. I know it's Sunday, but I'm not a Sunday preacher. I just see the destruction. And we've just had the coronavirus. We just had to all sit still and be mindful and understand what's going on in our lives and what's happening with us at this moment, in this incarnation, not in any past life, not in any future life. And I think with some of us, it's really brought to bear what we can or cannot do, what we would like to do, what we would prefer not to do anymore. I was surprised because I live in Glastonbury, and of course we have all of the tourism here. We haven't had anybody in the shops recently, obviously through Corona, but the speed with which people have returned and the speed with which people are back in the shops and are consuming once again, almost like nothing has happened. And I think for a lot of people that is the way they cope with things. Pretend this is just a blip, nothing has happened. I would so much love to see people being more aware, being more awake, realizing that that time we had with the coronavirus, a lot of us were not able to spend time with our families, and that might have brought an awareness of how precious these moments are that we spend with our families. What does that all have to do with Ceridwen? Well, if you're looking for a close family, Ceridwen's family, you need to look no further. Her love for her husband's love for her love for her 3 magical children, the whole story is about love. The whole story is about magical elixir to help her son gain knowledge and understanding and wisdom so that people would respect him. It's always interested me, and I think I've said this before, that she doesn't wish for her son, who has been born with a rather unfortunate affliction of looking very, very unusual, almost to the point where people call him ugly and the great darkness, that she hasn't asked for the elixir to make him beautiful like his sister, to make him acceptable for people like his sister. Somehow Ceridwen and her cauldron brew want to change something that hasn't even been needed yet. The need is, for some of them, to have him change into something that they can look at without wanting to throw up or run away. That's how ugly he was supposed to be. But he's really still in his development. There seems to be a lack of trust of the goddess in that moment, that he may become wise and smart and understanding and kind by his own way. Maybe she feels that because he's being treated so badly, that he too will retaliate and treat others badly and be mean and horrible and bitter. But that's always a choice. It's our choice how we react when people treat us badly. It's our choice to react badly or to respond with absolute compassion and kindness. You see, in the later triads, we know that Avakthi becomes a hero of Britain. So despite her failed attempts at making him something, he is becoming that anyway. I know that some people find it very difficult to understand, but for me, the story that is there is only just the beginning of what we can learn from that family, from that situation. As a mother, I learned that don't interfere in your children's life too much, because they are grown-ups and, or children to be grown up, and we need to give our children the freedom to develop into who they're meant to be. That if we curtail our children's energies, if we push them into a direction, they will turn around and push right back. As a mother, I also know that if I accept my child unconditionally, if the first thing that the child feels is my unconditional love for him or her, that the child will grow up with confidence, faith in themselves, that there's no need to make them something or try to make them something they will never be. Allow your children to just develop and blossom the way they're meant to. If they know that you love them exactly the way that they are, no matter what they look like, then they will find their way. And that is the big job of a mother and a father. And then the story is about siblings' love. The love of Ceridwen for her son is one of the avenues to explore. The next one to explore, of course, is the love of Cryoe for her brother. We don't know much about Cryoe, apart from the fact that she is the most gorgeous and beautiful woman in the world. The thing is, with beautiful people, often they are so self-absorbed and they're so they get so many accolades that in a way they won't really feel what it is like to be on the other side of that. They become privileged, especially if you're golden-haired and blue-eyed. Don't we know that? Don't we know that people who are dark, and that's another really interesting part of the story, the darkness of Avakthi and the hatred of other people for that darkness. Aren't we experiencing something very similar right this instant? This is what fascinates me about Ceridwen's story. It's always relevant. There's always something to be learned. So who is Cryoe? Is she kind? Is she loving? Does she care for her brother? I like to think so. I like to think that her inner beauty matches her outer beauty. She is, after all, the daughter of a goddess. And just as her brother ends up being a hero of Britain, I think she too has a story. And I always invite my students to write the story that they are channeling about these people, about Tegid, about Avakthi, about Cryoe, about Gwion and Morda. There are more stories than we have in that little half-page folio. That is only a fragment of what was left. The rest comes to us individually. What I mean by that is that each of us gets another slice. Each of us gets another little piece of information that is in the million-piece jigsaw of who this goddess really is. And that's the exciting thing about working with a goddess. Nobody can tell you. You can read 100 books, you can come on 100 courses. But the freedom of knowing who she is for you is what I find so exciting. I love hearing the stories my students come up with. I love hearing the stories. I mean, some of them really annoy me. I read some of them on other pages, and Avakthi is a bad guy, and Kraya is a slut, or something, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that at all. I am a bit of an idealist, and I do like people to appreciate that all these stories, all these myths, for them to have lived for as long as they have, that there is a story that is there to teach us something. And I think what it's meant to teach us is how we should be working with others in the world. I think all these gods and goddess myths have survived this long because they are a blueprint and a warning label of what can happen if you don't have faith and what can happen when you do have faith. The gifts of the goddess that I have been given throughout this journey with her, the abundance, the love, the care from other people, this shining that I have been allowed to send out into the world and have been allowed to encourage other people to send out in the world. I am not the hostess of the mostest by any chalk. There are so many beautiful priestesses and priests of Ceridwen out there now in the world. And some people are afraid to work with the Dark Mother. Don't be afraid of her. Learn from her. Learn from her about yourself. Yeah, Teggett is what we would call the ideal male role model. The way he treats his son, the way he loves his son, the way he accepts his son in my story in any way. Of course, he must have been a good father. Why? Because Avakthi turns out to be one of the heroes of Britain. How could he not possibly be a good father and then teach his son right from wrong and show him what's important and show him that accolades and people's fawning because you're pretty means nothing? How many people in this world do we see that have everything and are the loneliest people in the world? Just look at the amount of suicides amongst people like rock stars and film stars who are considered so beautiful, and yet inside there is a small boy or a small girl crying out for a mother that loves them or for a father that loves them. Avakthi never had to have that insecurity. Both his parents loved him. Yes, Ceridwen did try and change him, or at least change his fate. But you can't change fate for your children. You can't change fate for anyone. Fate is what our soul contract is. We've made that soul contract, and we live that soul contract. And Avakthi's soul contract was to be born differently, to be born non-acceptable to some people who only see the surface. And in truth, I mean, most of you know that I was born differently, that I was born with, as we call it, funny hands. But what my mother used to say to me, and my mother was a little bit like Ceridwen, she used to say, well, you are very lucky to be different, because what you won't have are all these false friends that will just fawn over you and look for you for something from you. They want to stand in your shine, and they think because you're pretty, the boys will come for you, and then blah, blah, blah. And it made me realize that she was right. The men that I've met in my life have all been men that have had an excellent character, So I didn't have to deal with the false ones. Pretty lucky that way. I don't think Cryoe got that much of a chance. So this story is relevant to all of us at all times, because we all, at one point or the other, feel ignored, feel sad, feel lost, feel betrayed. You know, Ceridwen feels betrayed by Gwion. Gwion didn't choose to drink the drop. He burned himself and he went, ouch! I would do that. When you see my cooking, you see a lot of that, actually. And what is really important is that he didn't set out to betray her. He was loyal to her. Otherwise, would he be standing there for a year and a day and stirring the cauldron? But she felt that he had betrayed her, and she went and she reacted. And in that moment, she moved from divine mother into vengeful mother. And when we feel that anger and that rage in us, and we do, all of us do at one point, it's good to remember Ceridwen's example. She was going to kill a young man, a young boy. You know, I mean, that's not very nice. Killing a child, killing a younger child, it's not really a good look on a woman. It is, in fact, the most heinous crime a woman can actually set out to perpetrate in the view of society. Killing a child, especially as a woman, is a heinous crime, and that's the way that the writers wrote it, perhaps to smear her name and to make people forget about her. But even if that is what she set out to do, the story at the end is a story of redemption. It means that Yes, she got it wrong, but she paid the price. And then she forgave. And then she paid the ultimate price of giving up her child of light, her beautiful son, Taliesin, to the world. Now, I'm a recent grandmother of a little boy called Taliesin. He's 10 months old now, and I tell you what, you'd prize that child out of my dead arms. I would not give anyone my grandson, and I know his mother would feel the same about her son. So I can understand what it's like, what it could be like to give up your child, even if it is for the good of the world. So for me, I can't even imagine it. It must take a great spirit and great power and a great sense of righteousness and a sense of forgiveness for somebody to do that. Which is why Ceridwen is my beloved goddess of the heart. I hope that you enjoy this little foray, and I hope that I have encouraged you to learn more about her and perhaps even write her story or one of the other stories. And if you'd like to share that with us, the priestesshood of Ceridwen, we really like to hear it. We love hearing people's views on this goddess. So if you have something to share, send it to b@ceridwen.co.uk, and we will be happy to read it. And if you'd like to maybe make a video about it, we'd be happy to have it on our channel. We really like to share the love that is Ceridwen. So, bendición alban heaven, ibaup, and blessings on you all at this solstice. May the waters that you drink always be pure, and may they always refresh your spirit, your body, and your soul. Blessed be.